Hi everybody, hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm very happy to be here with you today. My name is Dante Starshine, and if you're new to my channel, this is Bliss Beings. My website is blissbeings.com. I am a channel, I'm an intuitive healer, and I talk about a lot of spiritual subjects and sometimes some other things. And today will be a video about my own personal journey a little bit. So, not something I share that much about on YouTube, though if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I do share a bit more there on Facebook. Just look in the description, you can find me. Um, so I just arrived in Portland, Oregon, just about a week ago now, and I am very happy to be here. I got back from South America, from Peru. I flew from Peru like a month ago, a little bit less than that, and I took a stopover in Guatemala where I lived half of every year for the past 6 years, and then I stayed with friends in Seattle for about 10 days. I found myself back here. Um, I do healing sessions with others as well, like I receive and I do exchanges with channels and friends, and I feel that's very important for all of us to continue to grow, to learn from each other. So last year I did a session with someone, and during the session I was told, connect with your own guides, your own inner self in this moment, and just let yourself look on a map and see where you're meant to settle. And I saw Portland, Oregon, which I had been thinking about quite a lot. And yeah, I guess what calls me here is that there is quite a big spiritual community. There's also a very big queer or gay community, and that is very nourishing for me. Being in South America, it was kind of like that aspect of myself was not really that allowed. It's kind of homophobic, and in these new age expat communities, there's not that many gay people. Realistically, we're not a very big percentage of the population to begin with. So when you're, coming into subgroups, it's not so common for a lot of gay people to be there unless it is a queer specific gathering or group. And so this is something I really need in my life, and it's been super nourishing already, and it's only been a week here in Portland. Um, Even in general, being in this country, especially on the West Coast or in more liberal places, it's a lot more open, a lot more helpful for me. um, and that's kind of interesting that one of my biggest lessons with the plant medicine world was not was that I needed to get more in touch with my own body, with my own needs, which were not being met, because a lot of my path before, earlier in life, was like I was kind of flirting with these yoga kind of aesthetic, not aesthetic, what is that word? Like celibacy, um, and all of these rigid, sort of austere requirements to be spiritual. And I think that part of some degree of conditioning that I was already programmed with, coming from my parents weren't really actively religious, though they were nonetheless Christian, and they received that programming, and my grandparents put that programming. So I think finding yoga, those austerities, that's the word I was looking for before. Something about it, like, it made me feel good about myself, yet it didn't really bring me to feel um, in alignment with my truest self, my truest desires, the truest ways to express myself. And it stuck around for quite a while. And in Peru, it was just like, no matter how many good downloads or energy clearings or walking in these really majestic places or connecting with really high vibration people, was like, this isn't what meets the deepest part of me that needs love in a physical way. And so on the flip side, being in these countries in the north, while it allows me to have more of a safe and nurtured experience as a queer person, as a person in general, it's almost a little bit harder, because the kind of fiercity of the individualism and the there's so many programs that even people who are going in counterculture, or, well, counterculture is just that it's like you're going against the culture, so you're a part of the culture in general. People who are, not really wanting to be a part of the system still have a lot of these programs that I've had a greater distance from. And yeah, it's been very weird. It's been a big culture shock. It's always a big culture shock for me. One thing I learned this time coming back was that I don't have to be searched in the airport. I don't bring anything I'm not supposed to bring, but I hate getting searched because I am targeted as a non-normative individual. And this time what I did was I imagined the most unemotional state I could possibly experience, and I imagined like the little gray beings who don't experience emotion. I like channeled some of their energy into my body temporarily, and just was like, I'm blending in with everyone else. I'm not making eye contact with anyone. And they didn't search me because I was just really good at being a zombie person for a second. And that's a skill that I think we can use sometimes to navigate in this world, though how much do we really want to use it? I don't want to use it that much, just in airports. And I'm really grateful that Portland is a bit of a weirder place. Seattle wasn't quite as weird, but even here I felt this kind of America vibe way too much. Like, what is it? Why am I in this country? And I had this process where through synchronicity I was shown another video on YouTube that I can put in the description about the archons and energy parasites. So I probably will, as I explore this more, talk in depth completely about this in a separate video. Though what I want to say for my process here is that I did kind of complete the extraction process myself of this entity that I am told affects 99% of the population. And this is part of the programming of, like, fitting into the norms, or finding acceptance, or all of these sorts of programs that keep people numb, or keep people inauthentic, keep people kind of blending in an unhealthy way, and it sucks energy from them, and it's really like affecting a lot of people. And I think everything I've been doing with the plant medicine and finding my own true alignment has kind of triggered these things to come to the surface, because from what I understand about them, they can stay latched on for a very long time, and a lot of people don't have any awareness of them because they disguise themselves. They're very good at camouflage and visibility, and making it so that they don't appear real. They want you to believe that they are not real so they can keep doing what they are doing. And it's a very interesting, trippy little game with these energy parasites called archons. And ultimately they are helpers, and having this awareness has allowed me to find a lot more compassion, whereas before I would find myself, my process has a lot in the past been feeling really resentful about the state of the world, and sometimes feeling like I don't even want to be here at all. And this experience of like, oh, I want to leave the planet, it comes in waves. Years ago it was a lot worse, and it's not a suicidal kind of I want to leave the planet. It's just like this, once a lot of starseeds who are probably watching my channel relate to this already, that once you have that experience of a higher dimensional state, or have that journey into another sort of realm, you remember those other lifetimes that we're having as other beings in higher densities. You remember that frequency that we are meant to bring here to this plane to change it so that it is more akin to those higher frequency domains. Though it's like the process doesn't feel so fun of going from this great constriction into that liberated state. It's like, why can't we just be there already? Why do we have to do this? And realizing this about the archons and the energy parasites, and how these programs are not just this sort of external thing. It's like um, an invisible world of, dark and light that is then trickling into this dimension and creating those power structures and secret societies that are affecting us in such negative ways. And it's allowed me to feel a lot more compassion and see that, like, there's an importance in being in places that are kind of more hooked into the system, because having someone of this awareness, this channeling and extraterrestrials and interdimensional activity can really do a lot for people, as opposed to being in these new age bubbles where I've lived, a lot of my adult life, half of every year in a community like this. It's like, it starts to become like an echo chamber where there's a lot of like, we all have these same ideas and ideals, and no one wants to like rub up against anyone the wrong way, because it's such a small world that the ripple of that could affect a lot of things. It's like a very strange experience that I feel like doesn't allow for the fullest expression of diversity. Anyway, that's a different story. So yeah, right now I'm feeling quite good, because I'm exposing myself to meet a lot of new people, and just, imagining the possibility of being here longer term and setting things up and really reaching people, as I get the sense that there's a lot of people here that could really go deep with me. And that is so exciting, the thing that I want the most. And of course I will be continuing to expand my work online, maybe retreats in the future. Now I want to go back to the East Coast. I'm from Pennsylvania. There's a course called Vortex Healing. It's a multi-level, very in-depth program that I've known about for years, and I did some work with a healer this past year that has really been powerful for me. And it's like, wow, I should go and continue to broaden the scope of things. And that's been a little bit hard for the ego of my own ego, in the sense of like, oh, I am offering things already. I'm a developed person, and I want people to recognize me in that way. And for the most part people do, though sometimes that insecurity is like, oh, if I continue on this path of being a seeker, I'm not there already, I'm not enough already. And I don't think that is, ultimately, from a higher perspective, that's not true, that we can still be seeking and still know the divine within us the whole time. So there's just so many healing modalities out there. There's so much I haven't explored, and I'm quite good at offering something already that's quite specific, though I just love, I want to have the complete picture, and I don't think I'll ever stop learning and studying. So yeah, I may be offering some specials that will discount, so that I can earn a little bit more money this time to actually get over there and do that, as it just seems like it would be really special and important at this time. And yeah, there's some really exciting workshops coming up. I'll make a separate video for that. And what else did I want to talk about today? Yeah, life's exciting. Life is exciting for me right now. I've been like wavering a lot with my trust, though. It's really about, for me, sticking true to my ideals, that I only do what is really resonant with my core intentions and what really is fulfilling to my heart, and continue to trust. And who knows where that's going to go or take me, though I am feeling really excited for life at this moment. And I just wanted to share a bit about my personal journey. There's a lot in Portland I want to explore. I've been going and meeting my friend at the Kava Bar, and there's many lounges of that nature. I've been exploring the gay community and finding it's a lot more welcoming and diverse and open-minded and spiritually minded than places I've been before. So, yeah, what to say? This is my little update video. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I guess the last thing to talk about, that I could talk about, is just this process of, this part of why the culture shock for me this time in this country was so intense was coming to these bigger realizations of, how this country and how northern developed countries have really messed the world up. I mean, we all know that, and it's clear there's evidence for it, though it's still happening, and the understanding and awareness that people here aren't saying anything about it, are thinking about it, are caring, is really shocking to me. And it's something I still don't know exactly what to do with other than speak about my process and keep diving into it. And I'm kind of like a pollinator myself, in the sense that I go around the world to all these different places and I carry the energies back and forth. And I kind of been getting this message that I'm a pollinator from many different sources, from other channels and from my own guides, and the bee energy is very strong in me. And I think another aspect of that bee energy is also going between these different communities within one location that don't meet each other that much, and here in cities that there's a lot more of that. So I really hope in the future to be more of this bridge between the queer community and the spiritual community, and perhaps even this political advocacy community, because there's so much going on right now, and I don't think a lot of people in that community have these understandings of what it means to release resistance and use gratitude and use positive energy to do your work. And maybe the intersection between all these realms could be something really beautiful. Why this is coming up for me more is really because, for one, I went to Bolivia, which is a country that is in a very strong poverty and is very dirty, and the people there really don't like white people, and I felt really resented. I wondered why that was, and I learned that the United States granted amnesty to a president of Bolivia who extorted the treasury and robbed the country of millions of dollars and left the country like very poor, more poor than it was before. And so this shit happens everywhere, and in Central America, the United States has instigated civil war. They sell weapons to instigate strife around the planet and keep others in this chaotic energy so it can stay on top, and people don't say shit about it. And I feel like this thing with this Donald Trump, it's like people are in this state of like shame and worry about what's happening within the country, that they don't think as much about what's going on beyond. And it's there's a lot of shift that needs to happen. And I thought of going to Europe because I can really get Italian citizenship through grandfathering myself in. My great-grandfather was born in Italy. My grandfather was the first generation born in the United States. So I could eventually do that, and I thought maybe just go away from all this mess here. I feel much more kind of open and free in Europe in many ways. Though in a way I feel like that's running away from the problem. That's not showing up in this place where I feel like I could be of great service. And we'll just see if I really find fully the joy that is required for me to stay committed to doing that work. Another thing that really like pushed me beyond all this in a hard way is I was in a close connection with someone from Venezuela, and basically they were a refugee, and they had to send money back to their family in order for their family to survive, because so many people, thousands and thousands of people, perhaps even millions at this point, have fled the country because of the fascist tyrannical state that the government is in, and they don't have food there, and people are from outside the country are sending money back into the country for people to survive. And I've talked to people about this, and they didn't have any idea what was happening, and it was kind of shocking to me that there's not the awareness of these issues. And so while I was in Peru, the power in Venezuela got shut down, and because the power was out for so long and now is only on a couple hours a day, the money that people are sending into their family can't arrive. And so people are starving. They're in this really intense situation, and the trade blocks and all of the actions the United States has taken against Venezuela is really the cause of why this country is in that state. If you take $100 into Venezuela and change it, you get a trash bag full of money like this big. That's how bad their inflation is. So, being so, in the state of love and connection for someone who's dealing with that was really heartbreaking for me. And I don't think that um, once you have that degree of love for someone who goes through something like that, you can live in the same way. And there's been moments that it's just come up, and like I would just cry, and it's really, yeah, it was a good process. It was not, the best things in life are bittersweet because reality is both good and bad. And the big realization I've been having in Peru as well was this kind of, the spiritual movement is filled with toxic positivity, and it's just overwhelmed me to the point of like, I want to kind of strangle you. You stop doing that thing of ignoring the issues and going only to the light. It's really irritating. And of course, we need positive focus. It's all about love and connection. Though, when you use that kind of an energy as a strategy to avoid something, it is the opposite of that. It is not love. It is not connection. It is illusion. And there is a lot of illusion. So, while I'm on this train of thought, in Guatemala, I lived there for years, and it's only after this trip to Peru that I realized how parasitic many of the people there are towards the Mayan community. And it just changed my whole attitude towards this kind of expat spiritual thing around the globe. It's like, is this really helping, or is this causing bigger problems? And I don't have the answers to that, because I've learned a lot living there, and people learn so much and change so much. And I think it's a bigger process for some people. I think there's so many people just conditioned into thinking for themselves and what's good for me, what's good for me, what's good for me, instead of what's good for all of us. And being in places like Central America or any place in the developing world, it's so transformative, because people are happy with the simple things, and people are happy to be in connection with one other and another. People support one another. It's a much slower pace and open place, and the natural joy and the relaxation that people feel rubs off on the people that are coming and passing through, who, even me included, not traveling that much, like I experienced a great degree of stress being in that environment, mostly because I felt like my needs weren't being met, and I needed to go and do something. And it really got to the point that I felt like I needed to leave. And when I got back here, the first 2 weeks up until these past couple of days, I was like, why am I here? Why did I leave Peru? It was so safe and easy and all of this. And now I'm finding the balance and coming to my life with a lot of new perspectives. My core intention is really to be more relaxed and focus on the things that are most important. And I've been very distracted these weeks as I've been traveling. In Guatemala, I was also revisiting my past and some challenging situations that were amazing lessons that I will probably be able to give some talks about later. And so it's been really busy. It's been really like my psyche has been really occupied. And then in Seattle, I was in somebody else's space and didn't really feel like I had my own space to think or make my own choices that much. So it's really just a week now that I'm back on the ground, back on my feet, and all of these processes with the energy parasites, with this kind of collective parasitic energy, and facing that, and establishing a new relationship with that, it's taken quite some time. And now I feel ready to get back into the game, sharing, caring, and posting a lot of new content, engaging with people, working with clients. And I am excited for all that comes. Beyond that, there is a lot of magic. So thank you for tuning into this video today. Much love, blessings, and all that stuff. Peace out, Girl Scout.